And now I would like to invite very well-known scientists with extensive knowledge in biotechnology, plant physiology, nutrition, and other topics related to agriculture systems, and as well as energy engineering. And it is Thorsten Rocksch from Humboldt University. Floor is yours.
Thank you, Dalia, and thank you for the organization of this workshop and the introductory words. I'm very happy that again such an interesting program has arranged today, and that I may present some results of a larger research project together with my colleague, Ms. Altmann. Yes, I hope you can see the presentation. Is it okay?
Yes, okay.
Yes, okay. Yes, first I would like to discuss the development of the sea buckthorn fruit fly in Germany. And after I will say a few words about the background of the project and briefly introduce the EIP Agri program from the EU. And then I would like to discuss the different project modules and present your current state of knowledge on the biology of sea buckthorn fruit fly. Ms. Altmann will take over the second part with the presentation of the investigation of the influence of varieties on infestations with the sea buckthorn fruit fly. First, the infection rates will be shown, and then potential reasons for the differences will be highlighted. At first, a few words about the development of the sea buckthorn fruit fly in Germany. In 2012, the first infestations was detected in Germany, and as a result, the Plant Protection Service in the state of Brandenburg started a monitoring system already in 2013. While in 2013, mainly a local infestation was detected in a cultivation area west of Berlin. In the following years, was a very strong spread both in orchards and also in natural sites. Yes, the results were already presented by Ms. Holz at the 2017 EuroWorks meeting in Poland. You can see this here. And together with colleagues from the Plant Protection Service in the state Mecklenburg-Vorpommern, further research was conducted in 2016 to 2018. And seminars were held with growers, consultants, and scientists. And further need for research and development was identified here. Compared to other countries, there are some specific features of sea buckthorn cultivation in Germany. The sea buckthorn is mainly produced organically in Germany. There are very large, but also very small cultivation areas. Also, the climate and soil conditions, as well as the cultivation and harvesting methods are different. And that's why two main project goals were derived from this. First, the elimination of chemical pesticides, and second, the development of modular control strategies adapted to the needs of the growers. As a result, a project application was submitted under the EIP program. What is the EIP? This is a funding program of the European Union, and EIP stands for European Innovation Partnerships. Within the project, specific problems on agriculture, forestry, and horticulture are to be solved. Growers, scientists, and associations work together in operational groups, and the goal are to increase the productivity while considering climate and consumer protection as well as animal welfare. In the state of Brandenburg, more larger projects with a duration of 3 to 5 years have been funded so far in the last time. And now to our project. The Mo Plaza project stands for the development of an adapted plant protection strategy to combat the sea buckthorn fruit fly using sustainable non-chemical methods. The project will be finished in 2 months, and in addition to the Humboldt University, other research institutes, sea buckthorn producer, and also industrial partners work together. Yes, now to the modules. Varied control modules are being developed within the MoPlaza project, and the investigations into the influence of the varieties is only a small part of the project. So I would like to briefly go into the other sub-projects, but before that I would like to briefly discuss the biology of the sea buckthorn fruit fly, which was also the subject in this project. Within the circle, you can see the months of the year, as well as different colored soil and soil surface and sea buckthorn bushes. The pupae overwinter in the soil at a soil depth of 2 to 5 centimeters, and it was found that some pupae are darker colored. You can see it here. These are either so-called overlayers from which the flies hatch a year later, or also pupae which are parasitized. The first hatching occurred in Berlin area in early to mid of July, and the flight period is quite long and extend over 10 to 12 weeks. After maturation, breeding, and mating, egg laying occurs after about 1 month. Usually one larva is found per fruit, but sometimes the larvae can also change the fruit, as you can see here. And later the larvae leave the fruit and migrate into the soil to pupae. They are very mobile. You can see it here. We collect some larvae, and only one generation of flies per year has been observed. Now to the other modules. In the trap modules, different trap types and attractants are tested. Traps are mainly used for flight monitoring, but in general, also mass trapping is also possible. The soil cultivations is carried out in the bushes row, as you can see here, and the aim is mechanical damage to the pupae in the soil. Different tillage tools as disc or rotary harrows are tested. Then the barriers module, permanent and temporary soil covers are tested. They are intended to inhibit the larval pupatations in the soil and also to act against flies hatching from the soil. Foils, fleeces, and wood chips were tested as permanent covers, and there were also investigations into the use of biodegradable liquid glues for temporary covers, as you can see in the right picture. Then microorganisms module will clarify whether flies or larvae can be damaged by the use of fungi or bacteria. For example, there are already some preparations based on Bacillus subtilis that are very effective against other pests. And then the macroorganisms module, the effect of insect pathogenic nematodes were originally investigated, but during the project it was possible to find 2 antagonists that are parasitic on the larvae. there are braconid and ichneumon wasp. And last, in addition to the influence of the varieties, it was also investigated whether mobile chicken husbandry in sea buckthorn orchards can reduce fruit fly infection. The chickens are able to detect and pick up the pupae lying flat below the soil surface. Yes, and now I would like to give the floor to my colleague, Ms. Altmann, for the second part of the presentation.
So, hello everybody again. And so I'm now starting with the information about the infestation of the varieties. There we had two research subjects. First, we wanted to know how are the differences in the susceptibility to the fruit fly Rhagoletis batava, and secondly, what are the reasons for this, for the preference for a particular variety. First, I want to give you a shorter look at our experimental side. We have a little sea buckthorn orchard at the premises of the Humboldt University in Berlin. And there we have 8 varieties, Habego, Hergo, Sirola, Lycura, Ascola, and 3 Romania varieties, which were kindly provided by Alexandru Vulpe, which you, I think, all know, with the names Clone, Rory, and Dora. And we have there 9 up to 42 shrubs per variety. Here's the map of our sea buckthorn orchard, which was planted in 2006, and in 2019 the dead shrubs were replaced and the variety Lycura was added, as well as the Romanian varieties, and also a male pollinator for these Romanian varieties, Andros, which was also planted as the other male varieties at the rim of our orchard. Here to have a closer look at our varieties. On the left, we have Hergo, which is growing broadly and upright, drooping on high fructification. The fruits are small till medium-sized and have a conical shape. In the middle, we have Ascola, which is vigorously growing with also small till medium-sized fruits, and they are conically ovally shaped. And on the right-hand side, we have Sirola, which is growing more moderately, but you see here the rigidly upright branches with large ovally round red-orange fruits. This is our earliest variety, which can be harvested already at the end of July. Then we follow with Habego, which is very vigorously growing, has an expansive and broad habit, and partly the branches are partly drooping on high fruit set. The fruits are large and till yellow-orange. And on the right-hand side, we have Lycura, which is the most common variety in German orchards, which is also very vigorously growing with thick branches, and the fruits are very large and have a conical and deep conical shape and are deep orange color. Then finally we come to the Romanian varieties. On the right you see Dora, which is growing slowly, at least in our orchard. The fruits are round and small and almost red. This is a late ripening variety with the harvesting time in the middle of September. On the left, Rory, that has the same harvesting time. It is growing even slower, but the fruits are round and medium to large size. They are orange, have a bright orange juice, and are prone to cracking, which we stated, on heavy rainfalls. So the same can be seen with the clone, which is vigorously growing, drooping on high fructification, and there the fruits are round as the other two, but large and thick and have an orange color. So first we wanted to see how the varieties differ due to the susceptibility to the sea buckthorn fly. And so we submersed fruits of the varieties. We're catching the larvae and counting them. We were also putting branches or cut branches into boxes with soil, and we're then screening the pupae out of the soil. And in all the years of our project, we were evaluating optically the infestation of the shrubs. And these are the following distinctions we found. The variety Zerola is extremely susceptible to the fly, with infestations up to a maximum of 100%, followed by the very susceptible varieties like Roa and Havego, with infestations up to a maximum of 90%. Then we have also two medium susceptible varieties, Ascola and Clone, with infestations up to a maximum of 70. And we also identified 3 varieties which are only a little susceptible, with infestations, or they are infested not at all, or up to a maximum of 10%. The colors I gave these varieties will be maintained throughout the whole presentation, which means the green varieties are the little susceptible ones, and the others are gradations of red equivalent to their susceptibility. So Zerola, as the most susceptible, has a dark red. Of course, we also wanted to find out the reasons for the preference of the sea buckthorn fly. So we made trials according to the phenology, the morphology, and the constituents of the fruits or the varieties, and there the contents of ascorbic acid and sugar. Just to give you an impression, on the right side you see 3 fruits of each variety on the date of the 8th of July, and I think you can perfectly see that they are really different according to shape, size, and also color at that date already. So first we come to the development stages of the fruits. For that I took weekly photos of fruit branches and measured the stage and the color and fruit hair development of the fruits. On the right side in the charts you see the results. I grouped the varieties in the chronological order, and if you look at the time arrow you see that color change and fruit hair dissolvement are from the grouping of the varieties almost the same. So color change and fruit hair detachment start with Zerola, or the other way around, Zerola starting with that, and then followed by the 3 Romanian varieties. And then there comes Havego, Ascola, Hergo, and the Lycora was the last to change color and detach fruit hair. If you look at the right column to the harvesting time, it's again starting with Zerola, but then if you look at the bottom of this column, you see that the 2 Romanian varieties are the latest to be harvested. So there is obviously a different course of development to be stated. If we look at the preference of the sea buckthorn fly to the varieties, there can be no clear tendency to be seen as the most susceptible Zerola is starting. Every of these phenological parameters, and Lycora, which is also quite susceptible, is the last to change color or to detach fruit hair. So there's no clear tendency to be seen. The second big parameter we were testing was the morphology of the varieties. For that, we investigated size, weight, and skin firmness of the fruits. We tested weekly in flight season the size, bi-weekly in flight season, and at harvesting time the weight, and 4 times in flight season the skin firmness with the texture analyzer, which was kindly made available by the ATB in Potsdam. If you look at the table on the right, the first 2 columns, the maximum fruit size and the weight of mature fruits, show that the more susceptible varieties like Jura, Habego, Klon, and Cirola have the biggest and heaviest fruits, whereas the less susceptible varieties have the smaller fruits. If you look at the right column, the skin firmness, you see it's almost the other way around. Ergo and Dora are the non-susceptible Romania varieties, are those with the firmest skin, which means that the fly needs the most power to pierce the skin of the fruits, and the susceptible varieties are more on the bottom of this column, with the exception of Rory, which is also not susceptible. So we can conclude that the sea buckthorn fly tends to varieties with big fruit, with soft skin, with the exception, according to skin firmness, of Rory. When we come to the third part, the constituents of the varieties, here starting with ascorbic acid. We tested ascorbic acid biweekly in flight season and at maturity of the varieties. On the right side, you see the results of the average amount of ascorbic acid measurements. You can see that in flight season, the varieties have a bigger amount of ascorbic acid than in the mature fruits, with the exception of Hergo, where it is almost the same. And if you look at the preference of the sea buckthorn fly, there is no clear influence to be derived, as the non-susceptible Rory is the one with the most ascorbic acid in the fruits, and as well, not susceptible Hergo has the least, so there's no clear tendency. Finally, we come to sugar. That was tested at the same time as the ascorbic acid. On the right side, you see the chart with the results. There is no general increase or decline of sugar with advancing maturity. As you see, for example, Hergo has big amounts of sugar during the flight season, but then a little amount comparatively in the mature fruits. And with Cirola, for example, it's the other way around. So there's no general increase or decline. If you look at the susceptibility to the sea buckthorn fly during flight season, there seems to be a little tendency that the more susceptible varieties have less sugar than the others. Although if you look closer to the figures, you see that the differences are really small. In the mature fruits, there's no tendency to be derived, as the very susceptible Cirola has much sugar in the mature fruits, and the also quite susceptible like Jura and Habego have only little amounts, so there's also no tendency to be derived from these results. So as summary of our presentation today, with this project, we got a better knowledge of the biology of the sea buckthorn fly. We stated different levels of infestations of the varieties. There are different courses of development, and we did not find a clear influence on the preference of the sea buckthorn fly according to development stages or amounts of ascorbic acid or sugar, but the sea buckthorn fly seem to tend to varieties with big fruit with soft skin. Of course, we want to thank all our supporters of this project, and I thank you for your attention, and now we're ready for your questions.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Torsten and Sabine. Yes, we have time for questions.
Okay, and then maybe I ask, Dalia, if you summarize everything together, Torsten or Sabine, do you think you found some indicators in the composition color ingredients in the fruits, that could be an explanation why varieties suffer and other varieties not? Or do we need to further do research to find what is really the reason for the great differences, for instance, between Sirola, Hergo, and Lycura?
Two, right? Well, in this presentation, we stated that there is obviously varieties with big fruits and soft skin are preferred. I think it's more obviously more in combination of traits of the variety to make them more or less attractive to the fly. I do not think that we have the last insight of that. Of course, we have also to point out that Hergo and Roy and so on are not susceptible, but of course they are not alone there. If you have an orchard with only Hergo, maybe also the fly is going to attack Hergo as well. So they have the chance to choose the more attractive varieties. So I think that that is not the last word to be spoken about that.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Yes, Michal said that very interesting results. And my question maybe will be about your project, Maplasa. I understood that it is near finish. And did you find some interesting and important results for this sea buckthorn fly?
This is only a little part we were presenting today. There are other results of others who made their investigations, and we are just in the middle of the final report for the funders. And so I think there's much more to be said. What is very interesting is that there obviously are parasiting flies which have detected that the attractiveness, I would say, of the sea buckthorn fly larvae or pupae, and so there is a chance of that there will be a biological combat, which was not known at the beginning of our project. And that I think is very interesting, that there are more and more of the pupae we are finding for our trials also are parasitized.
Okay, it's good news that you have some positive results for ecological growing. Okay, any questions more?
Yeah, Kirsten and Virendra asks.
Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you very much for a very interesting lecture. Do you think that the extremely susceptible Sirola would be able to act as a natural trap in an orchard?
Yes, we were thinking about that we have some as a trap for to protect the other varieties. Maybe in the orchard there could be one row with Sirola, so which then also might be treated with some insecticides or something, so that we keep the number of the flights low. Yeah, that
we made sure.
Yes, perhaps I can say some words about it. One idea is that we use the variety Sirola in an orchard with other varieties, and we can give in this row, for example, special traps with attract and kill, so that we can also with non-chemical pesticides work, so that we have mass attracting and kill of the sea buckthorn fly in this row with Sirola. and so we can protect the other varieties.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. And I see that Virendra would like to ask something. Please.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
You have mentioned that sugar does not change with the maturation of fruit is very surprising. And I think sugar must be having some role in infestation. So it needs to be investigated further. Second, morphology and chemistry of fruit skin is very important. That also need to be investigated further, since infestation by sea buckthorn fruit flies is a very serious emerging problem globally.
I didn't understand the question in this.
Yeah, the first question is that you mentioned that sugar does not change with the maturation of fruit. I think you need to re-investigate. Sugar change with maturation of fruit, and sugar may be having some role in infestation by fruit fly.
Maybe that is misunderstanding. I said that it is not. You can't say it is in general rising or it is declining, or at least according to our results. We had some varieties where the sugar amount is rising with maturities, with advancing maturity, and some which are decreasing. I can only tell from our results. So it is changing, but it's not declining in general, or it's not increasing in general, according to our results at least.
Yes, look into this in future.
Mm-hmm.
And then morphology and chemistry of fruit skin is very important. Mm-hmm. It may having some role in infestation. You mentioned rightly that large fruit with soft skin, they are susceptible to fruit infestation. Okay, I agree. But morphology and chemistry of fruit skin is very important. Okay. And this is the one area which we should look into in future.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you for suggestions. Yes. And any more questions?